a production of South Carolina Educational Television. Learning Matters is made possible by grants from the Lilly Endowment of Indianapolis, Indiana, and the Pew Charitable Trusts.
Remember the ditty, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue? We memorized that when I was a kid, and that was about as exciting as social studies ever got. But Columbus and social studies don't have to be boring. Our technology correspondent, Fred D'Ignazio, recently showed me a better way to discover Columbus.
In 1492, they told me Columbus discovered America. Did they tell you that too? Is that true? I don't know. Well, let's look at the facts. React the acts, go back and retrace the tracks. On the case like a detective.
My son Eric, who's 13 and in the 7th grade, hates social studies. And he, as I listened to him, he's talked to all day long by his teacher, or he reads what for him are dead and uninteresting articles on people who are dead and hundreds of years old. I can understand why Eric doesn't care about social studies, why he finds it incredibly boring. So what we really need here is, how do we take kids who are MTV-oriented, TV babies, outside of the classroom? How do we make a subject like history interesting?
You have to question the answers. You gotta ask them, what's up with that? But don't just ask, think.
One answer, Fred D'Ignazio told me, is multimedia, like Columbus, prepared by IBM. Fred believes Columbus represents the textbook of the future.
Our problem is that we have a clash and a collision of two cultures. The word textbook, I mean, that tells us a lot. Text, and it's in a book form. And then we have MTV and Nintendo and Hollywood and so forth, Madison Avenue. Books are always going to be with us, but we're going to see books that are transformed into books that come on a little CD platter, only 5 inches in diameter. I have a 3-year-old child, and she sees encyclopedias now as not being big, thick books in a bookshelf, but she sees it as point-and-click things where you click on a tiger's face and the tiger goes, "Roar," and that's a book. She thinks of that as a book.
Columbus, actually a set of 5 laser discs, is a book that invites its readers to explore. Fred calls it the launching pad for the teacher and students.
These are chapter titles in the Columbus database: Discovery and Encounter, Columbus, the Man and His Vision. So let's just start at the top with Discovery and Encounter. And now all of a sudden we realize that when we're looking at a Columbus database, that maybe science or social studies and history, maybe they also have something to do with science.
Astronomer Ptolemy has made things rough. All these maps are flat. He thinks that the Earth is the center of the universe. He's wrong. He's out.
But all you're doing is looking at pictures.
All I'm doing is, but the pictures are, no, wait, I'm going, wait a second. I'm looking at a database about a guy from 500 years ago, and all of a sudden I see a picture from outer space, the Ptolemaic universe, some kind of a globe. Then I see Albert Einstein, Galileo.
But you're looking at pictures. Is there sound?
Well, let's go. Let's click on this picture of Einstein. And what I did was I looked up an article. So we get back to the idea of the textbook. The books in the future will still have articles, but the articles might be oral.
As one grows older, one sees the impossibility of imposing your will on the chaos with brute force.
From Columbus to Einstein. That's what Fred calls a thought line. Thought lines aren't prearranged, they're created.
The thought line is no longer that very narrow little rut that said, here's a stream of information and facts that you couldn't care less about, and that's relevant to some guy who discovered America 500 years ago. Learn it. That's one of the hardest things to teach, because why? There's no point in learning. It's totally disembedded knowledge, decontextualized. Why should any kid care? Why does even any adult care? The learning moment for the child should be human-centered, not a human-machine, a cyborg operation like we see in some of these 21st century sci-fi movies. We need kids to be much more active learners. They need to be the ones doing the work in the classroom. The teacher is a facilitator, an inspirer, a motivator, a guide, an explorer, but we need the kids to do the work. One teacher cannot bring in enough knowledge to keep kids up to the 21st century standards. It's like driving a car with your foot on the brake pedal. You're always slowing down the process if you've got to totally funnel in the knowledge None of us is that smart.
But Fred does not believe that Columbus or any multimedia tool will solve our educational problems or, some teachers' biggest fear, take the place of teachers.
We're so faddish, we're so technologically oriented that we always want to grab this new machine and say, oh, miracle, miracle, salvation. We've got a machine and it's going to reform American education. And there's no machine like that out there. The only way it is to change the way we teach and learn in our classrooms, the way we value our teachers, the way we value our children. So it's how we use these tools that's everything.
Fred D'Ignazio, our technology correspondent, envisions an entire class using Columbus at once, with the images projected on a big screen. That might be the only way a school could justify the expense. The cost, hardware and software, $11,000. But next month on Technology Corner, Fred's going to show us how to take an obsolete computer, an old VCR, and some stuff you were probably about to throw away, plus about $25 worth of cables, and create your own multimedia production center.